everyone, this is Christian C. And in this module, I'm going to go through anger and frustration, what it is, and how we could best deal with it. There are different levels of anger, from annoyance to rage. Intensity is what sets these levels apart. How angry do you usually tend to get? Is it something you see coming, or does it happen unexpectedly? It's good to develop the skill to calibrate your emotions, the good ones and the bad ones, such as anger. What is something that tends to make you angry on a regular basis? Does it usually have to do with a certain person? Perhaps someone that is close to you? I know we often say that ultimately we're the ones that have the power over our energy and emotions. But nonetheless, there will be times when others, even from the simplest of actions, will simply piss us off. It's bound to happen. Has this developed into a pattern emanating from your mindset framework? Perhaps there's more to it than meets the eye. When we flare up with someone, perhaps there are other buried emotions, underlying issues, and so forth. We feel it, and we feel angry and enraged. We just want to say, the hell with this. And if you must, then say it, the hell with this. But then know that no matter how much gas you're adding to this fire, it will eventually dim down again. Do you have a workable solution to heated issues that flare up often? Could you put any of those possible solutions to play today? Once we start getting a better sense of what is causing our emotional state, we can start finding options that will help us. Next time you get angry, how long will it take for you to simmer down again? If we knew the answer to this, we would be so far ahead of the game. Perhaps in a day, an hour, or a few minutes, those flames of anger will begin to cool down. But the counterintuitive process is that it's actually us that keep adding fuel to the flames. We become emotionally attached to negative energy, such as anger, and those powerful emotions rise up to the point of being addictive. It's counterintuitive because on a subconscious level, we get a high of such emotions, such negative emotions. What often happens is that we just get stuck in such an energy rut that we don't even want to move away from it. We want to fight and indulge in that fiery fight. Or we want that anger to remain so that we can keep feeding the gremlins. This, plus the fact that there might be other underlying issues, those elements can really get to us, especially when we least expect it. So, is this module on how to never get angry ever again? And the answer is no. Sometimes negative emotions just happen. We are human. We get annoyed and we freak out over things. We all have the capability to get angry, no matter how zen we are. And it's funny because at times we let go of many things that can potentially make us upset. But then out of nowhere, someone just knows how to push our buttons, perhaps over the smallest of things, or perhaps something like being so high up on caffeine and drinking so much coffee can get us there, can actually get us to be in that upset, angry state. But you don't see this as being the reason for your negative energy and vibe, meaning that we don't correlate having drank so much coffee that morning to suddenly being overly reactive later on with a family member, a friend, a coworker. And there is that energy that we just react with. Therefore, it is also part of what we put into our body, what we intake, our diet, our framework, our mindset, and so many different elements that play into any emotion, especially when it comes to being angry. The ability to zoom in and zoom out becomes essential when we feel such strong negative emotions such as anger and rage. This is because anger clouds our thinking, and anger can begin as a thought but soon takes over us physically, and it becomes an unrelenting energy wave that rushes through us. High intensity emotions. Do you know your triggers? And again, even something you intake, such as caffeine, can be a trigger. Quite often, it gets you amped up with energy that tends to be overly reactive. Your scanning signals keep looking for trouble or something to happen. And in a way, it might even self-manifest any pending trouble. And the worst of all is that our ego self erases any trace of its original trigger, such as drinking too much coffee. Know what your main triggers and anchors are, things that set you off, and know how to masterfully avoid them. Sometimes we go into a fit and can't control our emotions. They fluctuate from being hurt and depressed to anger and rage and all in between. Now, is it important for you to know your why? It's okay to go deep within yourself, your past, and come forth with an answer. If you feel better about exploring the why, then great, but it's not necessary. At least it's not necessary to dwell too much in the past if it's not giving you productive results. At some point, we must cut down on the why did this happen, and shift our energy towards the present moment, moving towards the future. Understand that it is your ego self that feels this rage. It feels trapped and confused. And this is key. Our ego self must allow our higher self to connect and nourish us as one in this moment of rage, hurt, pain, etc. Our higher self is all understanding and lives in eternal serenity, for it is beyond time and space and is one with the universe that was and forever will be. Our higher self does not feel hurt or pain. It's beyond that, beyond any earthly need or desire. It's like a natural star of healing light that we have a connection with, because it is a part of us, it is us. Strengthening that connection to heal and ascend. The process and time's challenge is in making this connection. If you make it, you will go beyond moments of rage, pain, and despair. That painful event that you're going through, your higher self has already seen it, and it knows those moments quite well. And it knows that you will get through them, and you'll be okay this time as well. It's seen that face of pain and anxiety before. Now it simply monitors those occurrences. It's been awaiting them and simply moves beyond them, just like a storm that comes and goes. It's a natural process, and no storm ever remains. You will heal again. We don't get angry at bad weather. We know it's part of nature. We know that the darkest storms will wither away eventually. Therefore, we don't feel rage, pain, or hurt towards them. As soon as you feel energy blocks such as rage or any other associated negative emotion, ask yourself, how does my ego reflect with this issue? Again, how does my ego reflect with this issue? And the second part to that question is, how does my higher self reflect with this issue? Again, how does my higher self reflect with this issue? And also ask yourself, what steps can I take towards healing? What steps can I take towards healing? And another question to ask is, if this is the threshold of pain I'm facing, how can I move towards ascension? Again, if this is the threshold of pain I'm facing, how can I move towards ascension? And yes, it seems counterintuitive to acknowledge pain as a process of personal evolution. But if we hold on to this part of the journey, and if we endure it, and we evolve through it, what follows is ascension. Are you ready to ascend towards your transformation? Acceptance, clarity, and focus will get you there. Through this pain process, you must keep moving along your journey, doing the most essential things that you know must get done. Create your own personal energy breakthrough. So not only will you survive, but you will ascend and evolve. We must get out of our head, which will get us contaminated with negative energy if we do nothing. And this can very well spread to a physical ailment as well if we do nothing. So what can we do? We could start with the 3 action step process, such as number 1, we must do these 3 actions, right? So the first one is get rid of them. Get rid of those energy blocks that only hold us back or anchor us down. Step number 2, what we can't get rid of, we diminish. And number 3, what we can't diminish, we use as fuel to ascend. So again, number 1, we get rid of as many energy blocks as we can. Number 2, what we can't get rid of, we diminish. And what we can't diminish, we use as fuel to amp us up in order to ascend. So this is part of the overall law of duality process in which we work with energy blocks. And of course, at any time, you could just use any energy block as motivation in order to ascend. But if you had a process to do things ideally, it would be to get rid of as much pain and as much anger and any other negative emotions, which we also call energy blocks. We simplify things, right? And anything that is holding us back, we label it as an energy block. So in an energy block, if we can't completely get rid of it, we use it to ascend. So here's how you can spark that process. Zoom out and reconnect with your higher self. Take a deep breath and visualize ascension. And see what options you have at hand to bring your energy back to a center where it's productive and creative so that you can continue moving forward on your journey, or at least find peace of mind. Begin to discover patterns by writing down experiences in your journal. These patterns will give you a lot of good information about what triggers sets off negative energy, its duration, how you regain your good energy of intent, and any other useful information. Writing things down greatly helps us remember, and also rehearsing helps us be in the right state to avoid any further bad occurrences. Let's zoom in into one particular area that we often face within our ego self and within our framework, and that is dark energy loops. Even after we take a few minutes or hours to clear out any negative energy, within a few minutes it can simply return as it reloops over and over again. This often happens because we're trying to force out energy blocks instead of acknowledging them and allowing them to exist. If they don't diminish easily, then thank them for existing, for they have served a purpose. And you can further diminish your negative energy by running the 3S's duality technique and other techniques related. And if the answer does not surface at a later time, be okay with it as well. Your overall focus should be in your journey, ascending and attracting good energies. Our inner energy will always fluctuate, and there will be highs and there will be lows. The more you develop your energy process and continue to practice, the better you will become at breaking through when confronted with negative relooping or negative energy in general. And now, a few more thoughts on how to quell a fire. As I mentioned earlier, one of the strongest ways is to simply make it into a habit to review your notes at such a moment, review your journal, and anything else deemed important. And you can also shift your energy and expectancy towards something good. Once your energy shifts towards those good things, the fire of negativity will begin to quell. Remember that any pressure, resistance, simply means that you are approaching your ascension point. Become an expert on taking on that resistance and pivoting off of it to be able to ascend. There needs to be a movement of energy going forward in order to create that shift where that anger and pain begin to go away and out of the light. We don't need any elaborate scheme. We simply need to peel the layers off and get rid of what we don't need. Allow your higher self and its universal light to heal you within that present moment. You have to want to heal in order to heal. Commit to letting bad energies go, even if we have to humble ourselves at times. Think of a time you were in a similar situation and how you resolved it before. That energy is still within you. Realize it's just a moment and it will pass like it did before. It's okay to think of the past to grasp that reference that will help you, but then bring that reference to the present so that it can help you ascend into the future. Sometimes it is us that become so passionate towards an issue that we are the ones fueling our negative energy through the framework of our ego self. One of the most grueling energy blocks that hits us is that of frustration and feeling that there's no solution to a problem, or that we just want to simmer in an energy block and we don't care about feeling any other way, such as being angry, for example. Ever been there? Here, I'd like to talk more about anger and frustration. In part, this means not having the ability to rein in your ego self. It means you keep ignoring your own framework. These are certain signals that change needs to happen, and we feel like we're hitting a wall and not moving forward. We have to acknowledge that anger is costing us a lot of energy that we could have utilized towards being more productive. If we realize how much energy anger and frustration actually is costing us, it could be very well a high price, and not just in the decisions and actions we take. Those can cost us a very high price within their own selves. But just that energy within itself, when we spend it on anger and frustration, we relinquish a certain ascension. We relinquish that ascension for the time being, and we don't get to accomplish other things that we had our energy set upon. In other words, those energy blocks continue to grow, and it blocks us from ascending. They hold us down rather than us using that 3-step process of diminishing them, getting rid of them, or using any remaining energy in order to ascend. So an important point to realize is that when we spend our energy towards anger, we are depleting our energy until we are able to charge it up again. When we get our energy charged up again, will we again go back to spending it on anger? Think about learning from your inner energy. What higher self viewpoint will present itself for you to learn and utilize in order to not allow these negative energies to keep reappearing? We should try, if at all possible, shifting our energy towards doing the good and productive things we had planned for that day. Don't let unforeseen energies knock you out from your path of productivity or even relaxation. I'm able to have greater control over my energy because I am very well aware that there's only so much energy that I will get each day. Our time is measured, but so are our moments of ascension. They are also measured. So now let's shift towards measuring our energy. Inner energy is like a daily bank from which we withdraw and make deposits into. So don't be afraid of feeling anger and pain if it does indeed make itself present. If at all possible, find a way to shift it away from you while welcoming good energies. This is part 1 of the 3-step energy process. Start with part 1, then follow up with part 2 and 3 to counteract any energy blocks. Visualize a beautiful outcome soon to come, and perhaps simply find a reason to laugh. And don't forget, find time to relax and remember to work on your deep breathing techniques. So relaxation, finding reasons to laugh, working on your breathing techniques, working on your vagus nerve, allowing your vagus nerve to relax, which is kind of like the central highway of your nervous system. It's quite elaborate and there's lots to it, but all you have to remember is simply to develop the right breathing exercises and techniques and carry them throughout the day, and allow yourself to take a time out if you need to follow through with those exercises and just spend the time to do them, spend the time to further relax and feel better. You will eventually get back on track. We have to acknowledge this. We also have to acknowledge that the sooner we shift our perspective and lead with a higher self and away from anger, the sooner we will carry on in our journey and carry on with our true destiny. Sometimes something as simple as breathing deeply and regaining our energy of intent, all within our solar plexus, and utilizing that energy of intent to shift towards a forward energy, forward action, that within itself, that can completely shift our mood from one of anger to one of quelling emotions and emerging hope